Imagine you're in your early 20s. You've just landed the dream job you spent your entire childhood working toward. You feel like you're on top of the world. And then, just a few months later, your boss calls you into his office, looks you dead in the eye, and says the one sentence that makes your whole world crumble. You're not right for this job. You're too emotional. And just like that, you're fired. Or, to put it gently, you're demoted to a position nobody cares about. The feeling isn't just failure, it's shame. It's crippling imposter syndrome. You start asking yourself, am I really as worthless as they say? If you've ever had a moment where you felt like you weren't good enough, go ahead and smash that like button right now, because this story is for you. Our story begins in Baltimore in the 1970s. There was a young woman named Oprah Gail Winfrey. At the time, Oprah was just 22 years old. Think back to when you were 22. Most of us were probably still struggling to figure out what to eat for dinner. But Oprah was different. She had landed the co-anchor spot for the 6 o'clock news at WJZ-TV. That was prime time. That was the spot every reporter coveted. She was the first Black woman to hold that position at the station, a massive achievement. But there was a tiny problem, actually a pretty big problem for a news anchor back then. Oprah couldn't keep a poker face. You see, the standard for a news anchor in those days was to be stoic, with a voice as sharp and robotic as a machine, and a face that never cracked, whether reading about a flower festival or a tragic accident. But Oprah couldn't do that. She didn't just read the news, she felt the news. One time, she was sent to cover a family who had lost their home in a fire. What would a standard reporter do? Stand in front of the ashes, hold the mic, look sad for 5 seconds, and head back to the newsroom to edit. Not Oprah. She went back to the scene after the cameras stopped rolling, bringing blankets and her own personal items to donate to the family. She sat down and cried with them. Her boss went ballistic. He yelled, "You can't do that. You're getting involved in other people's stories. A journalist has to be objective." If you think empathy is a gift, go ahead and share this video with the most sensitive friend you know. Because in the news world of 1977, Oprah's empathy was considered a fatal flaw. It got so bad that the producers tried to fix her. They said her hair was too thick, her eyes were too big, and her emotions were too visible. They even sent her to a salon in New York to revamp her image. The result? They completely ruined her hair. It fell out, leaving her bald in patches, and she had to wear a wig on live TV. Imagine trying to keep a straight face while reading the news, terrified that your wig might slide off at any second. It was truly a tragic comedy. And then came the knockout punch. After 7.5 months of struggling to be someone she wasn't, Oprah was fired from the evening news anchor chair. The reason given? You are not fit for television news. Let's pause here for a second. Not fit for television. Saying that to Oprah Winfrey, who would go on to become the queen of television, is like telling Michael Jordan he's not fit to hold a basketball. But back then, Oprah didn't know she was a queen. She was just a 22-year-old failure, demoted, with her self-esteem shattered. They shoved her down to what they considered the lowest job at the station, hosting a morning talk show called People Are Talking. Back then, morning talk shows were like a career graveyard. Nobody watched and nobody cared. Oprah thought her career was over. She felt like a total fraud, a miserable failure. But this is where the magic begins. And if you're waiting for a comeback, drop a number 1 in the comments so I know you're still with me. The first day Oprah sat in the chair for People Are Talking, something strange happened. No more rigid scripts, no one screaming in her ear, "Don't cry," or be objective. She just sat there, talking to people like actual human beings. She asked the questions she was genuinely curious about. She laughed when it was funny. She cried when she heard heartbreaking stories. She was herself, 100%. She said, "When I interviewed the Carvel ice cream man on that first day, I felt like I had come home. I didn't have to pretend anymore." That too emotional personality that got her fired from the news, turns out that was exactly the quote, secret weapon audiences were craving. In a world of cold, distant anchors, Oprah's warmth and authenticity felt like a hug through the TV screen. That morning show, which nobody used to watch, suddenly beat Donahue, the absolute king of daytime TV at the time, in the local Baltimore market. Nobody could believe it. A young black woman, once told she didn't have the right look, was too emotional, and had messy hair, was now attracting millions of viewers just by being herself. Later, looking back, Oprah said something profound. "I was fired because I was too real with my emotions, and that became the very reason for my massive success later on." Think about that old boss who fired Oprah. He must have had mornings where he woke up, turned on the TV, saw Oprah's billion-dollar empire, and asked himself, "Oh my God, what did I do?" If you find that irony hilarious, hit that like button one more time. But the story doesn't stop at fame or money. The core of this story lies in how Oprah rebuilt her confidence from the ashes of shame. She didn't build confidence by trying to fix what others said were her flaws. She didn't try to become colder. She didn't try to look like the other white anchors. Instead, she did something much braver. She doubled down on the very things that made her fail. She bet on her overly sensitive heart. She realized that true confidence doesn't come from being accepted by others. It comes from accepting yourself, even when the whole world, or at least your old boss, says you don't fit. From a girl who wore dresses made of potato sacks because she was so poor, to a woman fired for caring too much, Oprah Winfrey became one of the wealthiest and most influential women on the planet. Not because she changed to fit the world, but because she was brave enough to be herself until the world changed to fit her. So, look, we often spend our whole lives trying to hide the imperfect parts of ourselves. We're afraid of being judged as too sensitive, too loud, too quiet, or just too different. But look at Oprah. What if the biggest mistake you're trying to fix is actually your biggest superpower? What if the reason you don't fit into the current box is because you were born to build your own castle? Don't wait for someone to give you permission to shine. Grab the mic and tell your own story. If this story touched you, help me spread the word by sharing this video. And don't forget to check out the next video popping up on your screen right now. I trust you'll find even more strength there. Thanks for listening.